Hey, what's going on everyone? NoZoupForYou here, and things are changing how community contributors are going to be able to test ships in the future. We just got notice of that, and all the information is not NDA, so we've been given the green light to go ahead and share it with you. I'm not going to read you verbatim what we received, but I am going to paraphrase some of the items, and I will read some of the items in whole. First thing first, you're watching some gameplay provided to me by Wookiee Ship. And the reason I'm showing you this gameplay is because I absolutely hate the Huanghe. It is one of my least favorite ships in the entire game. Up there with Krasny Krem, and I think many of you hate this ship as well, and find little redeeming value surrounding it. However, Wookiee Ship cobbled together an amazing 8-kill game, and because of that, I've just got to highlight this video. I mean, anytime you do that good in a Huanghe, it's got to make it out there. You got to show it to people. So that's going to be playing in the background as I go over today's topic. Basically, Wargaming has identified a few problems with the way things are going right now. First, community focus is shifting more and more towards the future content. They've already talked about that, and it's still a problem. And what they mean by this is every time a ship is tested, we tend to focus on that ship when there's already things out, and it kind of diverts the player's attention away from what's already out. They go on to say, when we make the first announcement of new ships because of the coming super test, the news overshadows anything current, and any currently released ships do not get as much attention, at least partly due to the community has already burned out from discussing them on their test stages. And I can see that. That's kind of a legitimate concern right there. You know, when a ship comes out, like for instance, maybe the Alaska. The Alaska was out, all the community contributors covered it, we covered it again, and then it just kind of disappeared for about 6 months. So by the time the ship finally came out, we had already done our piece on it, we didn't want to touch it again, and the players had kind of forgotten a little bit about it. So I can understand this move completely. Usually they have several iterations for testing each ship, and content which was created when the ship was incomplete can disinform players, creating wrong perception of the ship. And I agree with that again. I mean, how many times has it been that we get a ship, we test it, we do previews, and that ship changes radically, and that becomes a pain in the rear for us as community contributors to go back and update, and if we choose not to, that first video is still out there with inaccurate information. So I can see where they're coming at from that as well. They finally sum things up by saying that work-in-progress ships attract a lot of attention, and many people, when they see this, think they're readily available for the public, which is not the case. As work-in-progress ships, they still are subject to much stronger changes. They go on to say this causes very intensive, sometimes too intensive, discussions, which in turn affects the perception of the said ships. And while part of me agrees with this, part of me also thinks that this is the one piece that I have issues with right here. So, in all, I can understand why they're doing this. I mean, it's happened in the past where we've gotten a ship, it's created a lot of controversial viewpoints of that ship, and it's soured the gaming community's opinion of that ship prior to it coming out. Ships like the Smolensk. Slava is a prime example right there. Slava was universally panned as being a low-effort, just OP BS type of ship that encouraged all the type of wrong gameplay. And that soured the community's opinion to the point that Wargaming hasn't even released it yet. And I don't know what the status is or if they will. So, while I agree in that, you know, the moves that they're making will mitigate that, I also feel it does do a disservice in a way, because we do have a large amount of CCs now. Our ranks have swelled quite significantly. You know, in the past, collectively, the CCs have been right about a lot of these ships coming out, saying that they're going to be issues, saying they're not going to be issues. So when you're eliminating that, you get ships that might not be complete or might still have issues with them. Not that it's like Wargaming has listened to our opinions intently in the past. It seems like over the past year, we've kind of been tossed to the wayside as far as the tweaking and balancing goes on these ships, and I know a lot of other CCs feel that way. But it's still important that we have that voice out there to warn the community. So what's happening now, that transparency is somewhat gone, and in a way, Wargaming is just going to do what they've done in the past, you know, the very first stage of this game. They're going to provide us with a ship, and though we might be able to play it, we're not going to be able to make content on it. And a week or two before it's released, we'll be able to release the content on that ship. Now, it'll be a more complete ship, or the final version of the ship, but by that point, if there's any issues with it, it's sorry, Charlie, there's not really going to be anything we can do about it. And I can see why Wargaming would want to do that, but also, in a way, at this point, it somewhat feels disingenuous, given where we're at right now and where we've come from. I mean, from a business perspective, yeah, I mean, this makes complete sense. I mean, obviously, you want to protect something that you have worked very hard on, and you don't want a bunch of unpaid contributors to take that item, trash it, and pretty much eliminate your chances of profiting off of it. So yes, that's a complete business move right there, and I understand it completely, and I'm behind that aspect of it. But I also see both sides of it, and just with everything that's happened with Wargaming in the past year or two and World of Warships, this, I don't want to say this sounds shady, but really it just seems like a deliberate move to keep the public in the dark. Again, for profit purposes, which I understand, but it puts us at a disadvantage because now we have no way of knowing if a ship's going to be a problem ship. It's just basically, here it is, buy it, we'll see where the chips fall. You know, maybe that's better for the public. Maybe ignorance is bliss. I don't know. Personally, I don't know at this point. I really don't. I really don't. It's just, it is what it is. So, what does this mean for us as CCs? Well, starting with the new batch of premium ships, the Champagne, the Roosevelt, we're not going to be able to create content until they're just about ready for release. And they even summed it up nice and tidily for us in a Too Long Didn't Read, which I will provide to you right now. To shift focus of the community and avoid misinformation, all work-in-progress ships are under embargo until they're ready or almost ready for release. This approach will begin with the next batch of premium special ships, most likely with the next update. Ships that have begun their cycles before, European destroyers, Soviet cruisers, are unaffected. CCs will still have access to the test ships on the same basis and can fully participate in production tests, just like the super testers, CST, WG staff, and other groups. So, again, we'll still have access, we'll still be able to give that feedback, but you're not going to hear the feedback that we give, so it's going to be after the ship's released where you know if that feedback we provided was actually listened to or not. So, kind of an interesting situation we're in right now, and we're not completely neutered as CCs. We're not completely cut off, but our ability to provide you with up-to-the-date information on these ships as they go out through the testing process has been cut off. And once again, I just want to put it out there, you know, I completely understand why Wargaming would want to do this. Part of me thinks that it probably is a good idea, and if this was the way it was from the very beginning, a lot of heartache from the community and with these releases would have been remedied and alleviated and actually not even exist. But now that we've been doing it one way, the fact that it's switching to this right now seems a little less transparent, though I understand the reasons they're doing this. It just seems at this point like damage control in a way, or trying to salvage something. And I don't think it's bad for the community. I don't think it's good for the community. Once again, it is what it is. And as a CC, you know, I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to take what they give me. I'm going to stick to the NDA. If I can't tell you about something, I'm not going to tell you about it. It's not really going to affect how I operate. It's just going to affect when my reviews come out, my previews, and it's going to be a lot closer to ship release, which in a way benefits me because I don't have to go back and make corrections if something major gets changed. So that aspect I do appreciate about it. But on the flip side, it is nice warning you, the community, if there is a glaring issue with a ship that we feel isn't going to be fixed, or we've already found out that it's not going to be fixed. So, you know, we're going to be in the dark, or you all at least are, until a little closer to release. Again, though, maybe ignorance is bliss. Maybe this is the way things should be. Really, I don't have any skin in this fight. It is what it is, as I've said before. We'll see how things go from this point out. I'm just providing you with this information to tell you what Wargaming has told us and how things are changing for our reviews and ship testing as community contributors. Anyhow, hope you all are doing phenomenal. Hope you all are having a great week so far, and I will catch you all later. Zoop out.